Hello and welcome to another video review. This is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. This is the direct sequel to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and it was released by Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Games this year, November 8th of 2011. And that's basically 2 years after the original Modern Warfare 2 was released. And it's interesting because there's been a lot of semi-controversy surrounding this, mostly in the fact that Battlefield 3 fanboys will scream about it being an awful game, that Battlefield 3 is so much better, it's so amazing, whereas the Modern Warfare 3 fanboys are screaming that Battlefield 3 is horrible and all that. So it's really become this big thing between Battlefield and Call of Duty that really hasn't existed until basically this year for some really weird reason. But that whole thing has gotten on my last nerve, and so it's kind of weird going into this, because I went in there expecting crap, because I knew that Modern Warfare 2 had a lot of problems on PC, and I liked Black Ops, but it had a lot of technical problems. So I went in with pretty low expectations. Did that really help me out in the long run? Well, let's find out. Now, the visuals really aren't that impressive at all. I mean, they're not bad by any means, don't get me wrong. It's just that they really didn't up the ante that much from Modern Warfare 2. They did add in a few new things to spice up the visuals, like they added in a little bit better ambient occlusion, for instance. Textures are a little higher res, modeling's better. Some of the animations are a little more fluid. They really did reuse a lot of the same assets, though. You'll see a lot of like buildings and textures and character models and even weapon models and animations and such like that have pretty much been reused, but tweaked a little bit to look just different enough. And here's where I see the complaints of this is just Modern Warfare 2.5, because it is the same engine, it is mostly the same effects, and it does look very, very much the same. However, while it does look pretty much the same, it does look slightly better. They did add in more polish, and so that's pretty nice. And the new animations and such all fit the game really well, and they're nice and fluid. They also kind of let me down on the sound design. I mean, the Modern Warfare 2 had Hans Zimmer doing the music. And while the music in Modern Warfare 3 is quite good, actually, it's really not that awesome bombastic stuff we had from Modern Warfare 2. It is very good, don't get me wrong. It's that very heroic military action movie kind of thing. And it does fit the game well, but it's not quite as memorable as Modern Warfare 2's soundtrack. Sound effects themselves are kind of unimpressive too. They pretty much reused a lot of the same sounds from previous Call of Duty games, which is, I mean, that's fine. I didn't really have that big of an issue with it, but they really could have done more to differentiate it, to make the sound effects more impressive, have more oomph. They're not bad, don't get me wrong. In fact, they sound fairly good. It's just that they really aren't that impressive in the long run. Then you have the voice acting, which is quite excellent, actually. All the characters are played very well. They don't sound like somebody just sitting there reading a script all the time. It actually sounds like people acting, and they did a really good job with that. And it does help to draw you into the game. But they still have issues with the non-English speakers. The accents are just a little overdone in most cases. But for the most part, it fits it pretty well, and you can generally tell what they're trying to go for with it. So it's not as big of a problem as it was in Modern Warfare 2, but it is still kind of unimpressive in that regard. But what really matter here are the story and the gameplay. Now, the story does pick up immediately where Modern Warfare 2 left off, and it's basically World War III has broken out between Russia and basically the entire West. And so you play as people on the West. You're mostly Americans and British, although you do play as other than people than just Americans and British people during the course of the campaign. That's kind of nice, actually. It gives you that more multifaceted thing than just, you know, America, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. But the story itself is pretty stupid. It's not quite as stupid as Modern Warfare 2's. I mean, it's still that very obvious Michael Bay style of just blow stuff up, make everything look pretty, and then just have fun with that. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. I mean, we all knew that going into it, so it's if you expect it, it's not so bad. But if you go in expecting anything more than the storyline to be crap, then you're going to probably have your brain implode or something. That said, the campaign itself is varied enough. You're never doing one thing for too long, per se. It is really short, though. It's basically 5 hours or less, depending on what difficulty you play it on. I played it on the second highest difficulty, and it was almost 5 hours. It wasn't quite, but it was nearing. It was about 15 minutes under. So it's a really short campaign, but it's pretty solid, and it wraps up this particular story arc too. So that there's very little chance of a Modern Warfare 4 picking up where Modern Warfare 3 left off, basically. At least I hope that's the case. Anyway. If campaign's not your thing, there are also 3 other game modes. You have Spec Ops, which is basically split into 2 different modes, although it's categorized and they're all Spec Ops for some reason. You have the missions and the survival mode. Now, the missions are basically the same thing that were in Modern Warfare 2. It's a various set of missions that are based around events during the campaign. And you can play them either solo or with a buddy. And you just tasked with different objectives, like get to this point, or rescue this person, do this, do that, the other thing. And they're pretty solid. They all they're some extra fun to be had in the campaign style, but with more point-minded stuff. And if you're playing those and you do well, you will actually get experience points that will rank you up in the single-player portion. This is used for the survival mode, which is their new big thing, where it's basically you fight on endless hordes of enemies that come after you, increasingly tougher ways. And it's a decent mode. It's one thing that I really noticed about it, though, was that it takes a while for it to get really good. And by that I mean it starts out, and the first few waves are going to be really, really easy, and then eventually it gets more and more difficult. But at the same time, when you start out playing survival mode, it's not that fun, but as you rank up and get access to more equipment, then it actually does get a lot more fun as you progress through the ranks. So that's nice. And that extends to the multiplayer as well. I mean, it does start out very almost irritating when you're first playing it and you don't have access to any of the good stuff. But after you get used to it, after you've learned the maps for a while, after you've gotten access to some of the better equipment, not too far away from the early on, it actually does get a lot better and a lot more fun. There were some problems I had with the multiplayer, namely the matchmaking would disconnect me a lot. That was a problem with Modern Warfare 2. They didn't really fix that here. One thing they did really well, though, was the matchmaking overall has been improved. To the point where it will actually find hosts that don't completely suck. It will find you games that usually aren't a horrendously high ping. I mean, the lag's still a problem, don't get me wrong, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it was in Modern Warfare 2. And there's fewer hackers in this game so far. They're starting to become a problem for me. I'm running into them more often. But apparently they're being a little bit faster with the bans this time around, so that does help out a little bit. But that said, it's your typical Call of Duty experience in terms of how it's set up. You do get experience points to rank up, get access to better equipment, more perks, that sort of thing. The big changes came that they completely rebalanced the game. All of the weapons are way better balanced than they were in Modern Warfare 2. Stopping power is gone. All the weapons have quite a bit of recoil, actually. And they all have their own characteristics that really do differentiate them. And they also rank up with you as you use them. Like, instead of just getting like headshot challenges or kill challenges, you actually can rank up your weapon. And as you rank it up, you'll get access to more camos, better attachments, and now the new weapon proficiencies, which gives you stuff like reduced recoil or reduced iron sight sway, because there's actually quite a bit of that too. And stuff like that's actually really nice. It was really well implemented. The problem I had was that ranking up the weapons starts out really annoying, especially for the weapons you get early on, but it eventually levels out around level 5 or so for the weapon. So early on, ranking up stuff is kind of a pain. As for the rest of the gameplay itself, they've added in a couple of new modes, namely Team Defender, where you're fighting against the other team over the control of one flag. The longer you have the flag, the more points you get, basically. It's a pretty fun mode, actually. It's nice and solid. One of those very typical kind of arcadey feel to it. That said, I did run into problems where, I mean, people generally don't work as a team in Call of Duty, and they're trying to change that, obviously. I'll get to that in a moment, but nothing too major. And then the other mode was Kill Confirmed, which is basically team deathmatch, only you have to pick up dog tags to confirm the kill, and it gives you the points for it. And you can actually deny enemies kills by taking your own team's dog tags, too. It's actually a really cool mode. The problem I had was that it's way too easy to kind of get trapped and to really put your team in a rut. But other than that, I really didn't see any major issues with it. The really big problems come from just the mindset of the players mostly, because they're still stuck in that Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops feel, where they're like, okay, must get kill streaks, and you're starting to see more of that changing, because they've added in the strike packages this time. They're now point streaks, and they're no longer just stuff to get you more kills. You have the assault package, which is basically the way it was in the previous Call of Duty games, where it's just stuff nets you more kills. You have the specialist package, which gives you extra perks as you get kills, but it resets on your death, and you have to do all of it yourself. There is no assistance. Assault kill streaks stack, by the way. And then you have the support strike package, which is what I use the most. And that's where you get stuff that will benefit your team, like UAVs and like ballistic vests that give them more damage resistance, stuff like that. And it actually doesn't reset on your death, and they do actually kind of stack. But you now get points for completing objectives and such now, not just getting kills. So that really does kind of change the dynamic of the gameplay, but the people really need to get that in their heads. They really need to wake up to that. It's not all about the kills anymore. And you're starting to see more of that. More people converting to that more team-based mindset. And that's a good thing. It actually really makes this game very different from Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops. And in fact, I had a lot of fun playing it. And I still have a lot of fun playing it. I haven't quite finished ranking up or anything. But the major problems I've had are that the matchmaking and peer-to-peer is just an inherently broken system for PC. I mean, it works decently here. It's playable, at least. But that was the one thing that got really on my nerves, because I would lag all the time, and I would just, get a lot of BS moves. But there was that problem. The dedicated servers for it are unranked. While you do get to go in and play with a dedicated server, which is always nice, it does have a problem of not ranking you up, so that's kind of annoying, but no massive deal. And generally everything's unlocked on those servers too, so that's nice. Another problem I had was that there's a lot of them that are just BS rules like they were in previous Call of Duty games, but that's just the way people play it. And you have to enable that in the options, which is kind of annoying. Because it's like, why didn't they just enable this by default? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Still, the only other issues I can think of are just minor technical problems. I had some crashes upon loading if I had the graphics all the way up to the maximum. It would only crash during load times. It doesn't do that anymore now that I've lowered the detail, but I don't know why it did that before. And there was occasional stuttering, but it kind of sorted itself out. I guess they patched it or something, or there was just something interfering with it. I don't know. But I really haven't had any major issues with this game, and in fact, I'm having a lot of fun with it, which surprises the hell out of me, especially considering that it's got that peer-to-peer matchmaking. I mean, I thought that was going to be a real deal killer, but it wasn't, ironically. So overall, I'd have to say Modern Warfare 3, despite what people will tell you that it's, oh, that's just a rehash, it's really not. It really does feel very, very different from Modern Warfare 2, and that's a good thing. But it's a really fun game. I was surprised by it. And But is it worth $60? I don't think so. You might want to wait for it to lower to like 40 or less. But it's still a really solid game. I was really pleasantly surprised by. They did obviously put some effort into this, despite reusing a lot of the same assets and stuff. Still, I'd say it gets a 3.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching.